Bom dia, boa tarde, boa noite para quem estiver nos assistindo em outro horário. Hoje estamos gravando o último programa da primeira temporada do Rio ao Mar. Esse programa número 16 vai falar sobre uma questão fundamental, que é o greenwashing, lavagem verde, colonialismo verde ou maquiagem verde. Antes de começar, eu quero agradecer pelo apoio desses 16 programas aos Sinacef, Sinergia, Sintipreves, FESESC, Sintrazen, Sinsaúde, Sinjusc, Sintrazeb, STIEL. Se você quiser ser um apoiador cultural desse programa do Rio ao Mar ou de toda a nossa programação, você pode ligar para 48-98807-7742. Também pode entrar no portal desacato.info e aí tem a campanha do amiga leitora, e você pode fazer uma contribuição que você puder, pode ser mensal, pode ser anual, pode fazer também um Pix ou nos assistir, comentar, dar um joinha, mostrar sua solidariedade com o povo palestino. E antes mesmo de entrar no tema de hoje, vamos à apresentação do programa. Talvez não haja nada mais fundamental para a causa palestina do que a terra. Grande parte da opressão dos palestinos foi moldada pelos sionistas e seus apoiadores ideológicos, que determinam quem tem permissão para permanecer na terra, quem merece a soberania sobre os recursos naturais da Palestina e, ultimamente, quem está mais bem equipado para combater as mudanças climáticas e ajudar a abrir caminho para uma utopia verde. Tem sido um elemento colonial enquadrar o meio ambiente como algo separado dos seres humanos, que existe apenas para ser domesticado e usado por um povo tecnologicamente avançado e merecedor, mesmo que isso tenha causado imensa destruição ecológica. O sionismo foi formulado dentro desse contexto filosófico, conforme evidenciado pelos primeiros escritos sionistas sobre o meio ambiente e a arrogância com que as práticas fundiárias dos palestinos eram descritas. A propaganda sionista, que retrata Israel como um guardião do meio ambiente para justificar a subjugação dos palestinos e a destruição das terras palestinas, evoluiu desde então para ser um pouco mais sutil. Essa tática discursiva foi chamada de greenwashing, lavagem verde, colonialismo ou maquiagem verde. No contexto da Palestina, é uma forma de racismo ambiental em que os sionistas falam da boca para fora sobre a preservação ecológica e retratam historicamente Israel como que eles fizeram o deserto florescer. Enquanto isso, Israel continua poluindo a terra palestina, plantando espécies invasoras, construindo, entre aspas, reservas ecológicas para encobrir vilarejos etnicamente limpos e apresentando seu roubo de água palestina como uma resposta que foi um milagre à escassez de água, para a qual o próprio Israel contribui ativamente. Essa propaganda serve para encobrir e desviar a atenção do deslocamento, do desenraizamento dos palestinos, o genocídio e o extermínio, a serviço do projeto colonial sionista.
Israel is a typical example of greenwashing. Greenwashing is when an entity portrays a certain image of itself to give the illusion of environmental friendliness. Israel uses environmental rhetoric to cover up its violent colonialism, ethnic cleansing, and oppression of the Palestinian people. They deceptively promote themselves as environmentally friendly to hide from the fact that their activities harm the Palestinian environment and their policies create environmental apartheid. While Israel has a global reputation for its high-tech, clean and green technologies, it also uses Palestinian land as a dumping site for its sewage and hazardous waste from its illegal settlements across the West Bank. While Israel highlights its commitments to creating natural reserves and green national parks, it has also devastated the local flora and fauna and has uprooted more than 800,000 olive trees since 1967 to make way for its settler colonial activities of building illegal Israeli settlements and upholding an apartheid wall. While Israel has promoted itself as making the desert bloom, it also controls the vast majority of the water supply across the West Bank and Gaza, and uses these stolen water resources to provide unlimited water supply to Israel and its illegal settlements. At the same time, Palestinians are suffering from severe water shortages, and 97% of the water in Gaza is undrinkable. Meanwhile, Israeli settlers are using 6 times more water than Palestinians in the West Bank. This is water apartheid. While Israel is marketing its clean and sustainable energy technology, it has also cut electricity and water supply in the Gaza Strip since October as a form of collective punishment for its civilians. So even though some of these ways that Israel does engage in environmental work is true, using these facts to market itself in the name of environmentalism is simply greenwashing because it doesn't show the whole picture. It completely disregards its impact on the Palestinian environment and uses this rhetoric to wash its image in front of the world and not taking into account its oppressive actions towards the Palestinian people.
Israel uses trees as a tool of genocide. This has 2 dimensions. 1, the trees Israel removes, and 2, the trees they plant instead. I'll talk about each in turn. Since 1967, when the occupation of Gaza and the West Bank began, Israel has destroyed at least 900,000 olive trees. One source I read puts the number at 2.5 million. This has happened through demolition of Palestinian homes, the building of the apartheid wall in Israeli settlements, and Israeli settlers on the West Bank just straight up setting fire to olive trees, a trend which has incidentally escalated since October 7th. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that the desperate circumstances in Gaza have forced Palestinians there to cut down their own trees for firewood. This is tragic for a number of reasons. Destroyed olive trees entail a loss of income, livelihoods, and food security for Palestinians, as well as a loss of time, since olive trees take many years from planting until they bear fruit. It's not for nothing that Palestinians often compare the loss of such trees to the loss of a friend or even a child. Speaking of many years, olive trees can get really old, like centuries and millennia old. Because of this, olive trees carry a strong cultural significance for Palestinians, with their longevity and deep roots being symbolic for the Palestinians' own attachment to the land. So, destroying ancient trees amounts to not just a literal severing of roots, but also cultural erasure, an attempt to wipe out all traces of Palestinian life before the arrival of the Zionists, in order to bolster the myth that Palestine was a neglected desert that settlers in their generosity made bloom. Which brings me to the trees Israel has planted in place of the olive trees. The Jewish National Fund, the biggest landowning organization in Israel, has planted 250 million trees. You might think that planting lots of trees would be a good thing, but it matters what kind of trees you plant and where. Most of the trees planted are Aleppo pine trees, and while they do grow naturally in small numbers in Palestine, the mass planting of them has been an ecological disaster that threatens numerous local plant and animal species. The saplings need lots of water, the pines acidify the soil when they fall to the ground, and the trees are extremely flammable. Because of that, and because of global heating, forest fires are common in Israel. Which reminds me that olive trees are great carbon sinks. So destroying 1 million plus of them probably wasn't the best idea. But here's the kicker, the part that's truly fucked up about all this. These pine forests are used to hide evidence of ethnic cleansing, of the 1948 Nakba that displaced 700,000 Palestinians and destroyed 500 of their villages. Pine forests have been planted on the ruins of many of these Palestinian villages. Like with the destruction of ancient olive trees, this is an attempt to erase all traces of indigenous Palestinian life before the founding of the State of Israel. It's a prime example of green colonialism, of imposing a certain kind of ecology at the expense of another. It's worth mentioning that these pine forests look European, and Zionist settlers have always imagined Israel as an extension of Europe. So yeah, while the connection between ecology and the Israeli oppression of the Palestinians isn't immediately obvious, it turns out they have everything to do with each other.
I now have more things to say about this after reading The Ethnic Cleansing of Palestine by Ilan Pape, which I highly recommend. It goes into harrowing detail, month by month, of what happened in Palestine from December 1947 to the summer of 1949. That is, the forced expulsion of 800,000 Palestinians from their homes, the looting of said homes, the blowing up of these homes with people still inside them, as well as summary executions, massacres where children watch their whole families get murdered, and gang... And, the topic of this video, the immense forests that Israel planted to hide evidence of all this. To give you an idea of the scale here, 90% of Israel's forests are from after 1948. Only 11% of the trees in these forests are indigenous to Palestine. Needless to say, this has radically changed the landscape. This was planned from the beginning. The Zionists had this tree planting idea already in June 1948. Today, Israel uses these trees to score environmentalist points, which might be the worst kind of greenwashing I've ever come across. Let's review some of these forests and commemorate the villages that were once there. The Beraya forest in northern Israel covers the remains of 6 Palestinian villages.
ديشوم علمة قديتة عمقة عين الزيتون بيريا.
The Ramat Manash Park covers up no less than 11 villages.
اللجون المنسي عين المنسي الكفرين البطيمات خبيزة داليت الروحة سبارين بريكة السنديانة أم الزينات.
The Jerusalem Forest and Jerusalem National Park cover up, in whole or in part, at least 7 villages.
عين كارم صوبة سطاف الجورة بيت أم الميس بيت محسير دير ياسين.
Deir Yassin is incidentally the site of possibly the most infamous of all the massacres Zionist forces committed in 1948, where 170 people were killed, including 30 babies. These are just some of the many Palestinian villages that now lie in ruins under the cover of forests. To give just 2 more examples, Lubia is today covered by Lavi and the South Africa forests, and there's a very interesting documentary about it that you can watch for free on YouTube, The Village Under the Forest. Then there's Amwas, now covered by the Kanda Park. As you can see, the before and after pictures here are stark. Amwas was destroyed in 1965, which shows that the ethnic cleansing and the tree planting that came with it didn't end in 1948. The Nakba, the catastrophe, is very much still ongoing. These parks and forests are today popular tourist and recreational destinations for Israelis, places where they go hiking and have picnics. The organization that governs these parks and forests, the Jewish National Fund, has made them oh so tourist-friendly, with clearly marked trails and signs that say absolutely nothing about any atrocities that happened in the late 1940s. The ruins that are still clearly visible, because these artificial forests can only hide so much, why, those must be from ancient biblical times, you see. Palestinians? What are you talking about? Not only are Palestinians denied the right to return, but the forests make sure there's not much to return to. These forests are part of a concerted effort to erase all traces of Palestinian life. Ilan Pape uses the term memory side to describe this, and I think that's apt. But I want to end on a positive note. Some Palestinians have been fortunate enough to be able to visit the site where their village once lied, and in the small woods where Al-Muyadil was, something remarkable happened. The pine trees there, being non-native, couldn't adapt well to the soil. They were plagued with disease and rot, to the point where some of them broke in half. And what started sprouting out of their trunks? Olive trees. The symbol of Palestinian steadfastness and rootedness to the land. It's as if nature itself is saying, "Free Palestine."
São tantos os aspectos do colonialismo, o apartheid, a opressão de Israel sobre o povo palestino, que a gente não imagina que também aconteça isso de ocultar os vilarejos palestinos. Os israelenses vão ali, como vocês viram no vídeo, fazem piqueniques e parece que nada disso existiu. Mas o povo palestino, como sempre falamos, continua existindo, como vocês, não só como nós falamos, mas como vocês comprovam dia a dia, especialmente a partir de 7 de outubro, mas essa resistência tem mais de 75 anos, como esse povo palestino tem apego à terra, defende sua terra com a vida. Me despeço aqui até a próxima temporada e, por favor, continuem falando da Palestina, continuem fazendo todo o possível para mostrar esse genocídio, esse extermínio que o sionismo faz com o povo palestino. Do jeito que você puder, seja nas redes, participando em eventos, ocupando universidades onde houver esse tipo de atividade, mas não deixe nunca de falar da Palestina, porque a Palestina será livre do rio ao mar.
He's a free, 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 free. Hi, what's your name?
Okay.
What's your name?
Okay.
Oh my God! Free, free.
Palestine.
My love. Why are you here today?
Because I want to stop racism in the world.
What does your sign mean?
It means love is the best.
Can you say free, free?
Palestine.
No, you say free.
Free.
Free, free.
Palestine.
Okay, Palestine.
Free.
Are you proud of yourself for being here? Are you proud? Well done. Are you going to be coming to the next protests? I will see you there. Do you have a message for the kids in Palestine?
I'm sad about what's happening to the children and the people because they're getting really badly hurt.
Free, free.
Palestine.
Ah, my love. Can you say free, free Palestine?
Yeah.
Free, free.
Palestine.
Free, free. Well done. Yeah. If you could meet a kid in Palestine, would you have a message for them?
Yeah.
What would you say?
I'll say we are gonna free you some food.
If you met a kid in Palestine, what would your message be?
Keep being strong. You've been through a lot. The war in Palestine is horrible.
Yeah, it is horrible. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, my love. If you met a kid in Palestine, do you have a message for them?
Yes.
What would you like to say?
I'm fighting for you.
Produção Portal Desacato. Realização Cooperativa Comunicacional